Hey everyone, we're on a road trip. So sort of a throwback Tuesday. I don't know when this is running, but we used to answer a lot of questions on the road. So today I decided that I would answer questions that have been posted on Facebook and Instagram. So let's see what we got. What's my favorite way to decompress after a long day? Well, first thing is we head to the barn to feed all the animals, and snuggling a donkey is probably the best thing in the world. And then sometimes we hit the hot tub, sometimes we hit the shower, and then I do things weirdly. Most people do all their faith-based readings and devotionals and stuff in the morning, but I actually do mine in the evening. While Hugh is making dinner, I do my readings and my writing for the day. Oh, what was my favorite part of being in vet school? Oh my gosh, that's a throwback 40 years ago. The fun that we had. We actually had great relationships with our professors. Like, they came to all of our parties. I was a weird person. I would study in the middle of the night because there was no competition for microscopes and lab samples and that sort of thing. So I kind of had this weird schedule. But the friendships and the fun that we had while learning, because it's pretty stressful. You know, lifelong friendships that I made from vet school. Our class was only 90 people, so it was sort of a family atmosphere. The best nutrition for a dog with ITP, which is immune-mediated thrombocytopenia, which means that their platelets are being killed. So I had great success with those dogs, putting them on whole foods. The cleaner, the better. So human-grade whole foods. A lot of times having a blood tonic meal base, so those dark leafy greens, fresh red meats, or dark meat if you're doing poultry, salmon, really, really good for those animals. And then there's an herb called gui pi tong, which is great for building platelets. And as long as my clients would stick with the whole food diets and the herbal remedies, those dogs would do great and they would not relapse. The only time I saw them relapse was if the animal had to get vaccinations or if the owner decided to go back to processed food that was not human grade. So a fire dog who has anxiousness, so we need more besides just the constitution. We need to know, does he have a blood deficiency? Does he have a pale dry tongue? Does he have a yin deficiency, which is also going to be that dry tongue? Does he have a yang deficiency where he's cold and he has too much fluid buildup? Is there some blood stagnation or liver qi stagnation that is accompanying that? So we need a little bit more information, but definitely we want to make sure that we have good blood supply. So if we have a blood deficiency, we need to fix that. But anytime you build blood, you have to move blood, because a lot of problems with these dogs can be from stagnation, either blood stagnation or qi stagnation. So things that are going to help move and drain. So this is where things like dandelion greens come in. Milk thistle can be really helpful. Turmeric is really good. Hawthorn, all those kinds of things. So I don't know whether we're talking hind knees or front knees, but the hind knee would be the stifle. So we have a lot of dogs with crippling arthritis in the hind end due to cruciate ligament tears, whether they're partial or full tears. So that is a huge problem, and so we get a lot of hind end weakness. So again, ligament and tendon tears are related to liver blood deficiency, so we want to make sure that we are building good liver blood. Again, dark leafy greens, the red meats, things that are good blood tonic. The arthritis a lot of times is stagnation, so again, moving the blood. Usually we think of arthritis being a problem in cold, damp weather, but it can also be a problem in hot, dry weather, depending on which type of arthritis the dog has. So we have great herbal formulas for that. The Voltrex from Dr. Marsden is amazing. You can combine it with Lumbrex to help push the herbs more to the hind end of the dog if that's where the problem is. A lot of times if it's front knee problems, the problem is actually coming from neck arthritis. And it's because the nerves that are coming out of the neck are not infiltrating as well as they should in the front end. So heat can be very helpful if there are animals that are worse in cold, damp weather. And certainly things to help them, like the help them up harnesses are amazing. They have a front end piece and a back end piece. You can connect them together, and they have little suitcase handles to help you walk the dogs, help them with getting up. But with those dogs where it's crippling arthritis, one thing I do not recommend is Librela. Do not get that shot. It is killing way too many animals, and FDA has actually put out a warning about it. But you may have to layer on a lot of things. So that it's going to be things like deer antler velvet, green lip mussels, omega-3s, herbal formulas, PEMF, which is the electromagnetic fields, acupuncture, chiropractic, massage, Reiki. All of those things can be very helpful. And so if you have a dog with crippling arthritis, you're going to have to layer on a lot of things. Homemade diet for cats with constipation and sensitive skin. Well, if they're eating a dry food or a food that has synthetic vitamins and minerals in it, the first thing you want to do is get rid of all of that. If we're using a whole food diet, a lot of times that's going to be helpful. If you're feeding a raw food diet, be careful that the bone content is not too high, because that will contribute to constipation. Sometimes fiber can be helpful, so something like coconut fiber. Cocotherapy makes the Hairball Plus, can be very helpful. But for a lot of these cats, it's actually a yin and blood deficiency that causes the constipation. They're too dry, and they also don't have enough energy. So particularly in metal cats, metal is ruled by the lung and large intestine. Tends to be gray kitties, but if they have a deficiency in that metal element, that's going to contribute to it. There are great herbal formulas for the constipation. Sensitive skin, it's more than likely going to be some sort of a food intolerance, something. It could be environmental, but we find more food intolerances. So I would look for a novel protein, either rabbit or whitefish, but the diet needs to be very, very, very high moisture for those kitties with constipation. I do not vaccinate my pets, and I have an understanding with my veterinarian that I'm not going to vaccinate them, and she knows it, and they still send me the reminders for all my pets all the time, and the technicians still remind me every time I go in that they're due for vaccines, and they're happy to give them while I'm there, and I always just politely say, yeah, we're not going to do that today, particularly if they're there for a sick visit, which is usually the only reason they go in. So we kind of have an understanding really about working with your vet. I don't take our dogs to the groomer. I groom them myself because of that issue. It's difficult to find groomers who will be okay without vaccines. You can sometimes find groomers, boarding, daycare that are okay with at least just a rabies vaccine, and a lot of times you can find veterinarians who are okay with at least just the rabies vaccine. So far I've even managed to skirt that, but I probably have just a little bit more clout and a little bit more leeway with not vaccinating my pets just because of who I am. I get that it's definitely more difficult for the average pet owner. What to do with my 6-year-old female dog if there's no vet that can do ovary sparing spay? So you can look on Parsimus Foundation website, because they do have a list of veterinarians who will do ovary sparing spays. It's really up to you whether you have the dog spayed or leave the dog intact, and a lot of that depends on the size of the dog. The larger dogs, larger breeds, are definitely the ones that have more issues with the loss of the hormonal influence, much more so than the smaller breeds of dogs. Ovary sparing spay is actually easier than a full ovariohysterectomy, so I'm kind of shocked that more veterinarians aren't doing it. And you may be able to find it if you are willing to travel, but definitely check Parsimus Foundation. Chronic diarrhea in a 13-year-old Border Terrier. I guess the first thing is define chronic. Are we talking weeks, months, years? And what have you done to try to overcome the problem? Definitely you need a whole food diet with no synthetics. You probably need to do some testing to determine if there are any food intolerances. For that, I probably would do the hemopet test, which is a saliva test. And I would also do microbiome testing to see what the microbiome looks like. consider doing a legacy biome fecal microbiota transplant, which is just capsules, so easy to do it. It may take more than one round. You could try something like Saccharomyces boulardii, and then certainly we have herbal formulas like Runs Be Done. We have the RX clay, which is very good, but those are more treating a symptom, and you need to get to the underlying cause. In a 13-year-old dog with chronic diarrhea, I would be concerned. Do we have lymphangiectasia or a lymphoma in the bowel wall that is causing that? That's one of those cases, and again, I don't have enough information on how long it's been going on, what the diarrhea looks like, smells like, that sort of thing. You need to determine, is it a hot diarrhea or a cold diarrhea? That's going to help determine how you're going to treat it and what herbs you would use. Is lavender safe for dogs? A new treat I bought has lavender in it. Yeah, in appropriate amounts, lavender is absolutely fine. It's actually pretty tasty too. Mycophenolate is another immune suppressant, so they're trying to wean off the pred and go to the mycophenolate, which has less side effects. The goal would be not to need either of them. If the dog is not doing well, how pretty is that? If the dog is not doing well with the weaning of prednisone and needs another immunosuppressant added on, then mycophenolate is not a horrible choice, but again, the goal is to not have the dog on any of those things long term. You can start any dog with a murmur and an enlarged heart on hawthorn and dandelion, even before starting any kind of medications. The dosage is going to depend on the formula that you use. So if you're using a tincture versus dried herb, there are doses in my Keeping Your Pets Naturally Healthy book, and also on the products that are in our warehouse that contain those ingredients, the doses are on those. So natural heartworm prevention, Will Falconer has a book that says, oh gosh, what's the name of it? Natural dogs don't get heartworm, something like that. It's really about having your dog's immune system in tip-top shape. Heartworms are spread by mosquitoes, so it means having some sort of mosquito repellent. So we recommend essential oil sprays on your dog, not having them outside at the peak of mosquito time, so dusk, and then doing everything you can in the environment around your dog, not having standing water, not having stagnant ponds where you get a lot of mosquito growth and reproduction. And if you're not going to use any kind of heartworm prevention, then you should, and you're in a high heartworm area, you should be testing heartworm testing 4 times a year, so quarterly. That way, if you do get a positive test, you can treat early before there is damage that has occurred. So it's really about mosquito control and immune system. There's a great video that we've posted in the past on YouTube that shows the immune system, the white blood cells actually attacking the heartworm larvae that are injected into the dog on the bite of the mosquito. And with a good immune system, that's a foreign invader, and the immune system will attack and kill those larvae very quickly. It's really about having your dog as healthy as possible. There are herbal products on the market that include things like hawthorn and black walnut. Be a little bit careful with those, but I don't think we have really great actual scientific studies on them where they've put dogs on those and then given them a high exposure to heartworm positive mosquitoes. I don't think we have good scientific studies. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence about them working, so it's really up to you. Digestive enzymes could help with the pancreatitis flare. The easiest digestibility is whitefish, so bake some cod. There's a product called C-Cure, which is basically broken down whitefish, comes in a powder that you can reconstitute. That works really well to get good protein, low fat into these dogs to kind of get them eating and get them over the hump. But I really like whitefish as a very easily digestible protein that can kind of bring these dogs back around.